Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, we'll be doing the review for this Lenovo K3 Note. And I have been testing this Lenovo K3 Note for about 12 days now. For the first 4 days, I used my primary SIM on this device, and thereafter, I have been using a secondary SIM. And though it's a dual SIM unit, I did all my testing with just a single SIM. The back cover can be opened, and I won't go over in-depth overview about this device and physical overview, etc., because I have covered all those aspects already in my unboxing video. In fact, I have also posted dedicated videos regarding its camera performance and gaming, so you can check out that for more info. In this video, I'll be talking about the pros and cons, and as you can see, it's a dual SIM device, and both the SIM slots have 4G supports, and it accepts a micro SIM, and it also has a slot for a micro SD card. And the battery is also user replaceable. It's a 2900 milliamp hour battery, and I have to say this Lenovo K3 Note is very similar to the Lenovo A7000 that I have reviewed earlier. In fact, in the physical aspects department, looks exactly similar to that. There are minor differences. Yes, this K3 Note has a much better camera. It's a 13 megapixel shooter with LED flash. Biggest thing I would say what actually Lenovo is marketing is the screen. Yes, they have bumped up the screen to 1080p screen. In the Lenovo A7000, we had a 720p HD screen. But I would say yes, it's nice to have a 1080p screen, but because of that, it has affected some of the things on this device. Particularly in the gaming department, it does not do as good as the Lenovo A7000, because though they have bumped up the screen resolution, the GPU is still the same, which is sort of weak for a 1080p screen. And actually, let me quickly go over the configuration, then we'll move to the pros and cons. This Lenovo K3 Note sports a 5.5-inch screen, which is a 1080p screen. It weighs just 150 grams. It is powered by a MediaTek MT6752 octa-core processor, which is based on the ARM Cortex A53 architecture. Regarding the GPU, it has the Mali T760 GPU. It has 16 gigs of internal storage, 2 gigs of RAM, a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, 5 megapixel front-facing camera, 2900 milliamp hour battery, and it also has the Dolby Atmos support. But again, for the Dolby Atmos, again, it's a marketing thing, guys. You need Dolby Atmos encoded files, and also you need to put a headset. With a normal speaker, it just does not, you won't get that effect. In fact, I would say the speaker is actually pretty tiny on this device, and that's one of the cons. Let's actually now break this device between the pros and cons. First, let me talk about the good things about this device. The thing that I like about this device is again the 1080p screen. Yes, it's a better screen, I would say, but again, there are some cons. I'll talk about the cons with the screen in the cons department. In terms of weight, though it has a 5.5-inch screen, it's a very light device. It weighs just 150 grams. But again, it's entirely made up of plastic. There's no metal thing, anything like that. Even the back cover is very thin plastic, as you can see. So yes, though it feels light, but I feel the build quality could have been better. Also, one thing that I like is really a big improvement over the A7000 or the Lenovo A6000 Plus is in terms of camera. And the new 13 megapixel camera does a lot better compared to earlier Lenovo budget oriented phones. As you can see from the sample shots, the pictures are really good. But again, when we move to indoor lighting and artificial lighting, yes, if you have very stable hands, you can get some good shots, but the shutter lag is actually too much. So many times you will get blurred pictures. So you have to be aware of that. Also, this Lenovo K3 Note has USB OTG support. So USB OTG works out of the box. Now let's talk about the things that I do not like about this device and some of the cons. Yes, though the screen now is a 1080p screen, in indoor lighting like this, I would say it is good. In the auto mode, it works fine. But when we move to outdoor lighting conditions, that's in direct sunlight, I feel the brightness is not that adequate. And in direct sunlight, it was difficult to see the screen. Also, one thing that I did notice is that the screen is sort of a fingerprint magnet. There is no olophobic coating or anything like that. So it's a big fingerprint magnet. Also, when it comes to the glass use, again, Lenovo hasn't used any Gorilla Glass. So it's just a toughened glass, not Gorilla Glass. Also, when we talk about the cellular call quality was good, but not excellent. If I have to rate it, I would rate it 8.5 out of 10. In fact, I would say the Lenovo A6000 Plus had a better cellular call quality. It's not like the cellular I had dropped calls or something like that, but I feel the earpiece was much better on the Lenovo A6000 Plus. So it is good enough, but not among the best, I would say. Also, it has a LED notification light. Some of you were asking, it has a physical LED notification light. And now when we move to the battery is again a 2900 milliamp hour battery. It's user replaceable. But things that I've noticed is that it takes a very long time to charge the battery, about almost 3.5 hours, between 3 to 3.5 hours. So the charging time is high. And also now, as this device has to power a larger pixel screen, that's a 1080p screen. Another thing that I have noticed is that in terms of battery life, let's compare it with the Lenovo A7000. I would say the battery life is decent. I could get a screen on time of anywhere between 3 hours to 3 hours 30 minutes with my typical day's usage, and at the end of the day I had about 15% battery life, which is decent, I would say. But when we compare it to the Lenovo A7000, I would say the Lenovo A7000 would have got almost 15 to 20% better battery life. So yes, the battery life is decent, but again, if you start comparing with the Lenovo A7000, it is not as good as that one. Also, another thing that I have noticed with this device is that even in normal usage, when you're using normal apps like Twitter, casually doing web browsing, etc., after 5 minutes, the handset tends to get a little bit warm. It does not get hot, don't get me wrong, but I've noticed that it gets a little bit warm. And again, I feel that it's due to the 1080p screen. The GPU actually needs to push up a lot more. So I did notice that if we compare again to the Lenovo A7000, this device tends to get a little bit warm in normal usage compared to the A7000. It's not hot, but it does feel a little bit warm. Now, when we move to gaming, I would say casual games are no problem with this Lenovo K3 Note. But when we move to some heavy games, as you can see from the samples, I did play some heavy games like Asphalt 8, etc. And in those heavy games, I did notice quite a bit of frame drops. It's the simple fact that the GPU used on this is not able to push all those 1080p pixels. So for gaming, I would say, in fact, the Lenovo A7000 did a lot better. But in terms of heating, the maximum temperature that it reached was 43.6 or 7 degrees Celsius. So it was not getting as hot as the Lenovo A7000. But certainly for heavy gaming, I would not recommend the K3 Note. Also, lastly, is the speaker and the volume, ringtone volume. And I feel the ringtone volume is pretty low. In fact, I missed a lot of calls on this device. If you're in the same room, you'll easily hear it. But let's say if you're in another room, the ringtone volumes and the speaker output is so low that you won't get it. So that is also a big con. That's the main reason that after 4 days, I took out my main SIM and put my secondary SIM, because I was missing quite a few calls on this device. Now, so these are some of the cons of this device. So overall, for the price of around 10,000, it's a good phone, but again, certainly it's not an ideal phone. I would say the improvements are specifically the camera is a really nice camera, but it's certainly not for gamers. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about this device is the SAR value, and quite a few of you have asked me about it. And even in my unboxing, if you recall, I read the SAR value as 1.59, that's on the box, and I say that's very high. Yes, 1.6 is the limit for India. But again, guys, you got to understand, and Lenovo in fact reached out to me. They said that this maximum SAR value is not just for cellular calls. They said this is for simultaneous transmission with all the radio bands like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular radio transmitting at max volume. So I said, okay, fine, but give me proof. So they did send me out the FCC the certification and the testing procedure. I can't reveal that because it's confidential information, but I can just say that for cellular calls, the maximum value that it was getting is 0.641, and this is for 2G calls. If you are on 3G, the SAR radiation is in fact a lot lower. So again, that brings me to another point, is that regarding SAR values, I've noticed that some of the manufacturers are actually publishing just the SAR values for the cellular stuff, not for the entire. In fact, even if for the iPhone 6, and if you see some of the Motorola devices, and in fact for Lenovo, you'll notice that most of these devices have very high SAR value. And I did some digging and I found that they're publishing the SAR values when they are transmitting data for all the radios, and they're using the US SAR values, not the EU SAR values. The EU SAR values will be a lot lower. So for example, in fact, I have the Galaxy S6 Edge with me, and on the pamphlet of the SAR, it is listed as 0.619 for the head. But when I did some digging, and I did some digging for the US SAR values, and I got some papers from FCC, there I got a SAR value for the, what do you say, Galaxy S6. Again, S6 has a lot of models, and the lowest star rating for S6 was 1.17, and for some model it was as high as 1.38. So again, guys, do note that, again, if you see very low SAR values for some specific models, just do a background check. Are they giving the SAR values just for a specific radio, or it's combined for everything and the max SAR values? And also, are they publishing the US SAR values instead of the EU SAR values? Also, I did find some other interesting fact. For example, even for the US SAR values for Note 4, it was 1.2, and for Galaxy S5 for various models, it was 1.37 to 1.58. As you can see, that's also pretty high. So again, regarding SAR values, yes, it's high. I would have loved to have a little bit lower SAR values, but just for cellular calls, it is 0.641. And I would say regarding SAR values, every mobile phone out there, you will get a little bit of radiation. That's the fact. But to reduce SAR radiation, I would say, particularly if you are a person who makes a lot of long voice calls, I would suggest that you use a, what do you say, wired headset instead of directly taking the calls like this, if you particularly talk a lot. So again, guys, as we have seen this Lenovo K3 Note, again, I had a lot more expectations with this device. It's certainly, I would say, a decent device for the price of around 10,000. But again, it's not without its flaws. And particularly if you're sort of a gamer, then I would not recommend you this device. Again, before buying it, just weigh down the pros and the cons that I have given about this device and make the informed decision. I hope this video was helpful, and also make sure you watch the gaming review and the camera review for the Lenovo K3 Note. Thanks for watching this video. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.